Be sure to subscribe for more content.
What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the BigBC Finance Channel, and I hope you're having a very lovely day today. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking all about Dogecoin, how much higher I think the price could potentially go, and of course, all the things I'm looking for in order to confirm or refute this. And of course, I'm going to be presenting everything in a matter of fact way, so you can make your mind up whether you think Dogecoin will go higher or not. So of course, be sure to stay tuned for all of that. And of course, if you appreciate the daily analysis here on this channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. So without further ado, let's get the annotations back on the screen and let's talk about what we are seeing. So of course, first things first, I do believe the price right now is within this chart pattern. We're in a period of consolidation. And of course, if you see my last videos, you know, this is something that I've been really looking for. So because these periods of consolidation can give us a hint as to where the price is going to go to in the future. So of course, we know we're in a consolidation because we see the price bouncing within a channel of support and resistance. And we also see this volume declining. So the average, so if we connect those peaks on the volume from when we entered this triangle here, we have seen the volume go down. So we know we're in a period of consolidation, and within a period of consolidation, two scenarios typically happens. What typically happens is we either see a breakout to the upside of this resistance here at some point in the future, or we see a breakdown from this support level here to the downside, and the price target of a triangle is typically the first test of resistance and support. Now, of course, needless to say, no chart patterns are perfect, but if it does play out and we break through the resistance here, for example, then we should be hitting my take profit zone up here. So this massive zone at 16.6 cents to around 18 cents on Dogecoin would be the price target from this triangle. And that's something I'm looking out for. And that's of course if we see a breakout of this triangle. So what we really want to see is the price to do something like this. It could happen in the next few hours. It could take a little bit longer and just bounce off the resistance a bit before popping up. But the price should go above the resistance with a lot of momentum. So large green candles, something that we saw here, for example, these two candles in this region here, and we want to see the volume increase like this. Of course, if we don't see that, then it could be a false breakout. But if we see large volume, large momentum, then we could definitely hit our price target up here, which would be a 33% increase. So a nice trade if you can catch it and if this happens. And of course, on the contrary, we could see a breakdown as well. And a breakdown would mean that the price would get to around 8.5 cents. And of course, that would be very bearish for Dogecoin. And the opposite scenario is true in the sense that if we do see a breakdown from that support, we obviously want to see the price go below the support here and the volume to increase, and we want to see momentum increase as well. So we want to see larger red candles, something that look like this here, for example. If we see small ones that kind of look like this one here, then it's probably a false breakout, and we could see the price just go forward and not respect that triangle whatsoever. So that's the first thing I'm looking at here. Obviously, this triangle formation that could be happening, again, it's not perfect. We could need to adjust it in the future to accommodate more price data. But the premise still stands that we are in this consolidation period here, and that thus I think something big will happen on Dogecoin. Now, of course, the second thing that I want to say as well are these moving averages. So you see these three lines, here that are kind of following the price upwards. These are the moving averages. So we've got a 50-hour moving average, a 100-hour moving average, and a 200 hour moving average. And I look at these every time we see a pump because of course it kind of forms a nice dynamic support and resistance. And of course, if we lose one of these moving averages as our support, so for example, if the price were to go underneath a moving average, then that would be quite a bearish sign. So for example, with this 50-hour moving average that we had, we can see the price of Dogecoin actually fell down to this level, tested this moving average several times here. So you can see one test here, price came up a little bit, came back down to test it once again, and then fully bounced up and away it went. So it kind of formed a very nice dynamic support for us. You know, we could have bought Dogecoin as the price hit this 50-hour moving average, and we would have done quite well for ourselves with the subsequent price action. And now, in exactly the same way, we're seeing the price test this 50-hour moving average in this region. You can see that it's been tested here now 4 or 5 times, and thus this 50-hour moving average is pretty critical for us in my opinion. I do believe if the price does something like this and starts falling under that 50-hour moving average, then I do think momentum will start picking up for the price to go down further. So of course, if it does something like this and the moving average does something like this, for example, we get that crossover of that 50-hour moving average, then we could start seeing a triangle breakout play in the bearish direction, and we could see that 8.5 cents. Of course, we have 2 more moving averages, so it'll be interesting to see what the price does there. We could see quite a bit of support from these 2 moving averages. So this blue one, so price could come down to this blue one. So let's say the blue one is here, it would bounce a few times before breaking down lower. And of course, the same applies to this 200-hour moving average, of course. So that's something I'm really looking out for. At the moment, we don't have too much information as to how the price will treat this 100-hour moving average in blue and this 200-hour moving average in dark green there, since the price has been on such a parabolic rise. But, if the price were to start breaking down, it'd be interesting to see how it reacts to those. And I do think we can see some support there. And the same applies for this trend line. So we've seen this trend line. I've put it in orange so you can see it a little bit better. This is our bullish trend line. So basically we've been following this. This is a very steep bullish trend line that we have here, which has kind of held the price up since Dogecoin started pumping. And basically, as long as we stayed above this bullish trend line, we should see large bullish action. Now, of course, we did indeed see that, and we're still above this line. So for me, that's still bullish. I still think we're going in an upwards direction. There's nothing bearish as of yet. Of course, we're seeing some consolidation here, but this to me is not bearish. A bearish action would be the price going down below this trend line here. So if we slip below this trend line for an extended period, of course, over here, we saw a small breakdown below this trend line, but we managed to stay above it soon after. If we see an extended period where the price is below this trend line, then to me, tells me that we could be following a new trend that is slightly more bearish. So that's another thing I am looking for as well. And the third thing I would say is this volume. So you can see that the volume went kind of exponentially increasing like this. So it wasn't even a linear increase. The volume kind of went exponentially like this. And of course, we saw that parabolic rise of Dogecoin there. So we know that this is a parabolic rise because obviously we had this really steep bullish trend line. We had this volume going up anyway as the price went up. So this is quite unusual in the sense that, of course, when the price is up, we should see holders taking profits more than we see buyers jumping in. But in this case, we saw lots of buyers jumping in at these higher prices, and thus this parabolic rise happened. We could say that we saw some sort of blow off top here, since the volume has now come back down, and now the volume is declined again. So of course, we've ended this era of a parabolic exponential increase in volume there, and now we are settling it down a little bit. So for me to stay bullish on Dogecoin, we kind of need to continue this uptrend of volume. Of course, if you look at where my orange line is, it's kind of linking the tops on that volume there. And of course, it's not a perfect average because obviously it gets these volume bars intersect it, but generally this is the trend that we should see the volume going in. Of course, if we see a breakout of that triangle, like I said, we should see the volume increase. And if we see the volume get up to here, for example, then that to me suggests that we're going to be staying in this bullish trend that we're seeing, kind of dictated by this trend line, this orange trend line that we have here. So we could see this breakout do something like this. And of course, we want to see that volume continue to touch this orange bar. And to me, that's going to be very bullish. And I do think we're going to get to that 17 to 18 cents price region on Dogecoin if this were to occur. So just to recap, we are probably seeing a triangle that looks like this, and we could see a breakout to the upside that would want to be accompanied by an increase in volume that is able to reach this orange line here, which is connecting the tops of the volume. So as long as it's able to reach this orange line, to me, that tells me there's more volume coming in, and thus there's more buyers to take the price to 17 to 18 cents. Otherwise, I do think we could start seeing a breakdown. So far, we're also very bullish in the sense that we're still above this bullish trend line in orange here, as well as above the free moving averages, although we're very close to that 50-hour moving average. And if we fall below it, we could see some further downwards price action. And of course, we saw this parabolic rise in price here, and that was obviously fueled by Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter. Obviously, there's a lot of attention to that. Literally, all of his tweets got so many more interactions. Dogecoin and Doge were trending on Twitter for the longest time. I still think they are trending on Twitter. So there's still a lot of tension on Dogecoin. So that to me is bullish in the sense that it's not faded away yet. It's still trending on Twitter everywhere. And of course, looking at the Google Trends search interest for Dogecoin, basically we can see that the worldwide search interest over the past 7 days peaked out on the 29th of October. So actually the interest for Dogecoin as a search term is potentially going down, and it shows signs that the price pump is losing steam. So we could very well see new buyers, and obviously that's all dependent on what happens next. So there's going to be obviously a lot of rumors going around about how Dogecoin is going to be implemented on Twitter. Will it be the new currency of Twitter, for example? Will we need to pay $20 a month to be verified on Twitter? And if so, will that be paid in Dogecoin only or something? And if so, that could push the price higher. Any Elon Musk tweet to do with Dogecoin, even if he posts a photo of his dog, for example, could send the price much higher. And I still think we're in that phase right now where there's still a lot of room to grow. If I go on the week chart here and adjust the chart there, we can see that, have a look at the volume back when Dogecoin was under a tenth of a cent here. You saw 3 different large pumps here back in the day. This is the log chart. So if I go on the normal chart, it looks like that. A little bit silly, but on the log chart, we can see there's plenty of pumps, and look at the volume. Look at the volume on these pumps here. On the first pump On the second pump is when we saw the most volume. So we went from 0.07 cents there to 9 cents on Dogecoin, so about a 10x. And that's not the 10x when Elon Musk went on live TV and talked about Dogecoin. That was this pump here. So we literally had a massive pump in Dogecoin even before the masses knew about it. And have a look at the volume down here. The volume is absolutely massive. Back in February 2021, January 2021, when Dogecoin did its first pump, not many people knew about Dogecoin, and yet the volume here is insane. Have a look at the volume in comparison today. Obviously, everyone knows about Dogecoin, everyone knows about Elon Musk's Twitter acquisition, and yet the volume is still relatively low compared to how it was back in the start of 2021. Now, this is Binance's data, and of course, people bought Dogecoin through other exchanges back in the day, like Coinbase, for example, like through Robinhood. So this is obviously not the best illustration of it, but I still think, the volume still has some room to grow. Of course, if there's more news about how Dogecoin is going to be implemented on Twitter, we can see the volume continue to rise upwards. And of course, if we see the volume continue to rise, then like I say, we can see the price do the same thing as well. So in that respect, I'm bullish. So obviously that's a very good thing, and that's a bullish sign that there is more room for Dogecoin to grow in the sense that there could be more buyers coming in. Of course, this is quite an extreme example, but the point there still stands. And another point I wanted to make as well is this downtrend has been broken. So, Dogecoin has been basically in this downtrend now for the longest time, since April 2021, a year and a half of a trend line being broken, as we did just the other day on Dogecoin. And that's obviously going to be a massive event. And of course, a massive event it was, because we broke through with so much momentum. So of course, again, a very bullish sign that a new trend is starting. Of course, if we're going to go in a long-term bullish trend, so if we're going to see Dogecoin appreciate in value, then, it's not going to be as sharp as it is right now. But over time, we could see Dogecoin do something like this, for example. Of course, the new trend that is formed doesn't have to be bullish, but, the fact that we've seen this breakout suggests that we're going in a new trend. So again, that kind of supports this notion that Dogecoin could be heading in this new trend direction for the next few weeks to months, for example. So good stuff in that front. And of course, looking at the whole crypto market as well, such as Bitcoin. So things here on Bitcoin are looking fairly decent. Of course, we've seen the price stay in the 20,000s, which is very good, but it's showing some signs of weakness in the sense that we could be seeing a double top and we could be seeing the prices head down soon. And now, of course, we've got the interest rate decision on November the 2nd, which is going to have a large impact. And if it comes out bad, then we could see the prices continue to decline like this on Bitcoin. And of course, if that is the bias here on Bitcoin, then we should see that bearish bias there on Dogecoin as well. But if that November the 2nd interest rate decision comes out good, then that gives Dogecoin more room to continue going upwards. So of course, it's super important to check out what Bitcoin is doing. If we see large upwards or downwards movement in Bitcoin, then the chances are it will add a bias to the price movement in Dogecoin as well. And so I'm always going to be monitoring Bitcoin. So my final verdict on everything, just to summarize what I personally think will happen to Dogecoin, I do think there is a chance for it to go in the bullish direction. Of course, I've already given you my price target of around 17 to 18 cents, but there's a lot of things as well that could throw a spanner in the works. So for example, imagine if Elon Musk tweeted that he's not going to be using Dogecoin as a currency. People will flock to sell Dogecoin and it will tank very, very hard, in my opinion. And of course, the downside risk, in my opinion, to buying Dogecoin right now is this. So if we do a complete retracement of where we are right now on Dogecoin, we've got this massive 52% drop. Now, I'm not saying all this price action was based on hype. There might be some renewed interest in Dogecoin, some buyers who bought in this region, for example, who are going to hold Dogecoin long term. So as to whether I think this complete retracement is likely, I'm not so sure. But, the downside risk is there. And if it is a complete retracement, that is a 52% drop. Whereas if we look at the potential upside, where I see Dogecoin potentially going to, that's 37%. So, just from a purely risk to reward standpoint, I would personally not be buying Dogecoin at this point. If you're looking to trade this triangle, for example, that's something I definitely will do. If we do break out on the upside of this triangle with increased momentum, then that would be a nice trade for sure. But if you're buying Dogecoin for a longer term hold, then it could be a little bit risky because 50% downside, 37 or so % upside at the moment doesn't give you favorable risk to reward. Now, of course, Like I say as well, we're quite close to these moving averages. We're quite close to this bullish trend line. And of course, this is a very steep one. In my experience, a coin that's pumped 150% in the matter of days in a bear market tends to retrace somewhat. Probably not all the way, but I do see the prices potentially coming down a little bit further. And so for me right now, it's not a buy. Dogecoin is not a buy, but I do see it still being bullish. Of course, just from a matter of fact standpoint, we're still above the 15-hour moving average, this trend line that we have here, and the volume is still ultra high compared to how it was back before the 24th of October there. So it's still looking good. It's still trending on Twitter. It's still trending. It's still up there on Google Trends. And as long as the interest stays high, the attention to Dogecoin stays high, then I do think there's definitely more bullish price action to be had. But like I say, risk to reward is not quite worth it for me. So that's my verdict here. I do definitely think it could go higher, but it also could go lower. And the upwards movement for this coin doesn't justify the downwards risk. So that's all I have to say in this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. Hopefully you know what to look out for if you are holding or if you are trading with Dogecoin. And of course, if you do like this video, be sure to smash the like button for me and let me know in the comments if you're holding any Doge right now. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.